My name is Charles Mahiwe, and here are my team members. So I'll let them to introduce themselves, then I will now come up with why we are here. Okay?
Pastor Jude is my name.
Okay, I'm Mr. Every the best thing to the group.
I am Jeconiah Koko.
Kenneth Chizoba.
Kelechi Mosu.
I'm Dave Kasamane.
I'm Robert Sotoy Queenet.
Robert Sopani Queen.
Yes, sir.
Okay. My name, Sir Dr. Ibani, Amasenibo Bonny, official Palace Compare. Incidentally, my brother came visiting. He's Amasenibo Dagogo. Amasenibo Sir Dagogo. Mina Jumbo. The man who said he had it in mind.
Yeah.
So maybe the lock is that he's not going to look for him in his house.
Yeah, it is.
When we finish,
Yes.
we will have a session with him.
Yes. Yes.
But you know, whoever planned this visit
Yeah.
would have also have known that I didn't think that I was coming to get to meet people and they would talk to me as an academic. You know?
Okay.
I felt that they're talking to me as somebody who is rooted. So you wouldn't have come empty-handed. That's all. So can I hear your vision?
Is okay.
Thank you, sir, for the kind permission and the overlooking the shortfall. Okay, so basically the condition of the language and culture of Ibani people is of interest to a lot of people, and especially to NLNG that sponsors Ibani Hour on Radio Bonny. Yeah.
So the study is commissioned to go find out where and what is the state right now of the language and the culture. Is the program on radio being of any benefit to the language and culture? If yes, is there are there ways that the program can be fortified to be able to keep helping the growth of the language and the culture? So to be able to accomplish this, we are looking at various segments of the society, both the key people in society and the ordinary man on the street. And what we have done so far is that we started with the academic institution here to be able to get a feel from those who are in the academia. And like you know, young people are, of course, that is mostly young people. A lot of young people seem to have their views. And from what we have heard so far, it looks like people are actually interested in the language and culture and its sustenance. So we are here to also hear from people like you who are custodians of the traditions and the culture of the people. And with that, we will spread out the study because we intend that probably in the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we should be able to cover a lot of grounds, you know, with regards to this. And then we can now start looking at what the response has been from the field. That is why we are here, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Like I said, my name is Dr. Ibani. Studies like this come every now and then.
Yes.
And it helps us both in the academia and it helps us both in practice
Yes.
of selling a Bonny story.
Yes.
Because there is a Bonny story.
Yes.
Now, for a people that interacted with the Europeans
Yes.
with specific interest, the Portuguese,
Yes.
as far back as 1699. Now, the Portuguese trade of 1699 did expose us to a lot. Now, when we got to slave trade was even there before the Constantinople partition of Africa. Now, when we got to slave trade, because of the trade,
most of now the new international law, United Nations forbids you to use the word slaves. Now, but we cannot help it when you're talking history. Now, the slave trade gave birth to what we call the language of the trade. Originally, as Ijaw people, having an ancestry historical background traced to a clan called Isideni in Kolokoma, present-day Bayelsa. The Bonny man, the Mane man, as the case may be, had a long travel route. There were so many settlements before they got back to this place. Even traveled up interland to where you now call the Turkey area, and found that it was not that comfortable and habitual because the average German had peculiarities to which he or she looks at things. So they started coming back. A lot of them didn't come back this way. So they came back this way, and the story has it that about the 13th, 14th century. And we came back down this way. Now, we spoke a language that is peculiar to the Ijaw people. It's traceable. The Nembe man, your Krika man, your Kalabari man can understand each other, but for defects in the dialects. Now, when we started the slave trade, we started, of course, as we were doing the slave trade, we started marrying the people we were trading with. But the slave trade was also going with the palm oil trade, and the slave trade was also going with all other things that, as the white man will bring for you to sell, the illicit gin, all that. So you learned the trade, this language of the trade, to trade in that. Then you married their daughters, you brought them home, their daughters are at home, the men have gone for fishing, and because you have learned that trade, that language of the trade, you made it impossible. You didn't want the women that you married at home to hear your language, because you will use it in the evening during the folklore to gossip how the trade went. So the woman at home does not hear the language. So what she hears, which is natural for any woman will know, is the language of the breast. That language which she knows is what she feeds the child with. Now, before now, we were living in quarters and settlements. Bonny has over 37, 38 villages. Okay? Now, the 60-something, we're talking about one as written. Oral history says 60-something. But Tabot in his book says 37 villages. But however, the truth of the matter is that at that time, when the men go out fishing, come back, they tell their stories for the day in their language. The woman herself treats the children at home in the language, in her mother tongue. So because you do not want those of the trade to hear you, but you learn the language of the trade for bargaining, and you have married those who are part of who have come from the place of the trade, it affected. Now, Ibani has a city center. Before Bonny became a city state, okay? Let's not forget Bonny was a city state. We had a consulate because we had consular activities. We had diplomatic ties at that time. So Bonny is a city center. Then these villages are outskirts. Now, only villages to a large extent that were westward, and when I mean westward, is across the sea, not the creeks. Now, those villages that are westward, it is difficult to continue to cross. So most times they are embarked there, and most of them were not involved in the trade. They were beneficiaries of the trade, but not participants of the trade. Having said so, the villages on this side, to a large extent, most of them are post 18th century, post 17th century. The villages on the west bank are pre-17th century. Because after the Andoni War, it was decided, the king of Bonny at that time decided to say, look, this will never happen to us again. Therefore, you, mount your men, stay here for purpose of protecting the kingdom. You, mount your men, stay here for purpose of protecting the kingdom. But that was not the case with people on the westward. They were already settled. They were settlers. So that in its own gave birth to, when we got to 1740, we left the quarter system and started operating the house system. The house system in Bonny here tells us that unlike other places, we have one chief to a house. Now, if you must have noticed, we bear surnames that are common.
Yes.
Now, for me, a Banigo, I cannot have two Chief Banigo in a lifetime. One must die, for another one to be elected or selected, as the case may be, to lead the people. Likewise, you cannot have two Chief Jumbo at the same time. One must die, another one to be selected. If none has been selected, it's vacant. So, the house system itself, to a large extent, people who started manning the house system had a lot to do with the trade and the language of the trade. Secondly, if you ask what is being done, the language virtually went into extinction. In my own vernacular word, I would say the language had gone into extinction. But it's not right to say so because it is still spoken today. A lot of people speak the language, especially those on the West Bank, speak the language very well. Now, here is the city center. What used to happen in those days, you come and do your business here. Here is the Abuja of Bonny people. And you return back to the villages afterwards. Now, the period we are in now is what you will call the formal season, the high peak rainy season. The river is, of course, the tides are now high, very rough. So all the fishermen have returned from Bonny, that's places far off, fishing ports and all that, and have come back home. Now, they will not do any other thing than eat, marry, and dance. So between now until through the end of September and thereabouts, various houses, various cultural groups that are of Bonny extraction, because you know culture and tradition evolves. Because of the trade too, you also learn other things from other people. But those things that are very traditional to us as Ijaw people happens around now. So to a large extent, you will say this is our own Christmas, in quote, right now. To the Bonny man, this is our own Christmas. This is our own Alali period. Now to the language. A lot has been happening about the language. In 1972, the government of Rivers State, through the Ministry of Education, enacted a state law recognizing the Ibani language to be taught in schools. Of course, the challenges will come. The teachers to teach the language. Because we all know teaching and imbibing are two different things.
Yes.
I can speak Ibani language and may not be able to teach it.
Exactly.
I can understand Ibani language and may not be able to imbibe it. Teaching and imbibing are two different things. The local woman in the house that is breastfeeding, growing up with a newborn child, the child will hear that language. This means that the woman talks. It doesn't mean that the woman talks to the child. No. The child learns the language by instinct. Now, government has said teach this language. You only have those who can speak the language but they are not educated. So how do they follow the syllabus to teach the language? Now that has dragged, and various pressure social groups over time, even from 1964, the Bonny Improvement Association, the Bonny Community Front, has done all kinds of small classes. But this impediment is there. I know that, Dagogo speaks Ibani. What is Dagogo and Ibani? A teacher. So, is he a teacher? Can he interpret syllabus? So, some persons, he is what you call a standard 6 man. He understands the language. But he tried to put things down, but could not put it down for teaching purpose, even though the idea is that those things are supposed to be for teaching purpose. He did some rhymes, he did some poems, he did some folklore, some fairy tale stories, but that is not teaching the language. So, but over time, people have been trying, different groups, to be able to build a foundation for the language. Even those in America have been trying to build a foundation for the language. However, coming to today, the LLNG see that the Mali language will be part of their CSR and have said, okay, let's get involved in taking the Mali language in classes on radio, buying out time from radio stations. So the Mali language is cardinal to setting up the Bonny radio. Thank God the Bonny radio is there today. The Bonny radio today has gone beyond the Mali hour. The Bonny radio has gone beyond the Thursday 5 p.m. At Wazobia FM. The Bonny radio now has gone, Ibani is infused into 80% of their production. Which means that since you have a targeted audience, and the response to the targeted audience is proving positive, the Ibani language is coming up gradually. There's the Ibani language project, Ibani language Bible project. There is also different groups, like as I speak now, the online tool is being used by various persons. You have the Ibani dictionary. There is a group, Let's Speak Ibani. You have the Ibani dictionary on the app. On your phone, it's there. The Ibani dictionary is there. So, in a nutshell, doing a study, you have a kingdom that you have 34 chieftaincy houses. The 34 chieftaincy houses, there is no house where a handful don't speak Ibani. Judging Ibani from the city center here is a failure. Because Bonny today is not cosmopolitan. The influx of people in Bonny, based on the IOCs and the multinationals, is not the same as it was of Bonny in 1965. A lot has changed. And maybe as of even 98, people who will attend secondary school here, 80-90% will be local children. But right now, it's reversed is the case. You're having 80% of outsiders based on parentage working on the island, and 20% of local content. Bonny in Rivers State is the only kingdom local government, and that's unique. Yes. Bonny is the only kingdom local government in Rivers State, and kingdom local government simply would mean one people, one voice, one king. But in other local governments, you have diverse opinion, diverse people, different kings and different chiefs. But all the 34 houses are chiefs of Bonny, country chiefs of Bonny, which we call Sealab. Se is everybody. I first made the chief of my house. I am presented to the kingdom, meaning that I can preside over a Banigo house, a Jumbo house, a Brown house, and so on and so forth, of the 34 houses. And in the 34 houses of Bonny, 3 of those houses are domiciled in Finima. Okay. The Browns, the attorneys, and the Tobins. 3 of those houses are domiciled in Finima. Now, the language, or not only did this suffer setback based on the trade, suffer setback based on civilization and education. Now, because you don't tell your story, Yobumanga High School, 1842, was the first high school in the entire Nigerian kingdom. But it went into oblivion because people who attended the school, most of them from here, moved to other schools, Hope Wedel and all that. But the Bonny Government School, which was known, the likes of Zeke, attended the Bonny Government School. Okay. Now, but let's take it from another angle and look at Bonny from the angle that Christianity, okay, the king of Bonny is not a kingdom where Christians came to evangelize Bonny. Bonny went to take Christianity. King William Dapper was given the gift of the Holy Bible in 1861 while on exile in the United Kingdom. When he won his case against Her Majesty's government, Queen Victoria, he was paid some money. And based on that gift of the Holy Bible, he now asked her, is this where your civilization has come from? And she said yes. So he used that money in hiring teachers, doctors, nurses, and evangelists, and returned with them in 1861. But for malaria and cholera attacked them, and they returned. So in 1864, the king now wrote a letter to CMS, Church Missionary Society in the UK. And the CMS now, it now coincided with when the consecration of Samuel Ajayi Crowther in 1864. And Samuel Ajayi Crowther was sent to a place called Niger Territories, with his headquarters in Bonny. That Christianity, like I said, came with education, came with hospital, came with civilization. Let's sum it like that. But sometimes for study, it is also good to answer questions directly. Yes. We've done an overview.
Yes.
But it would be nice to say, let's take direct questions.
Yes.
And attempt to prefer answers. We will not prefer all, but attempt to prefer answers. But open. That's why I'm an academician.
Yes. Thank you very much, sir. That's a very well-known history. And for us, like you rightly pointed out, there are targeted questions too. So let me just give you a copy to look at so that we can discuss from it. Yes. You have given us the history behind the, will I say, rise and fall and then rise again of the Bonny people, their kingdom. And you have also landed at the current state of the Ibani language. So, in your opinion, how will you see how young people interact with the language today?
Now, very simple. Like I said, this is minister season.
Yes.
This is about the only time. Unfortunately, the government has failed in teaching this language in the school.
Yes.
But for one or two private persons and the lessons and the various groups trying to sell the language back. The way the language is now spoken,
Yes.
to a large extent, is in the trade. The trade, not that one now. The trade with a little child whose parents are opportune to be able to speak, trade of going to get things, and in the folklore and songs, which will be happening around now. It will be abnormal, insane, to do the festivals we are doing now, and we sing in a foreign language.
Of course.
So the children are encouraged. A child who is initiated, is going to use the right word, into the, call it the masculine group. Okay, now the masculine group, Yowogo, is the police of the Jordan. That's how it used to be then. When the king and the chiefs enact the law, those who enforce the law is the Yowogo, as it is called, which is the masculine group. Masculine law. Okay? They enforce those laws and they do the punishment as police is still doing now. A young man is caught trying to fiddle with another man's wife. The fine is pronounced, Yowogo is called to come and enforce the fine and all that. So of course it is in Ibani. But those things don't happen again today for civilization. But with the ceremony around, one club to the other, the children are on holidays too. So they are joining this house to their own, and as the whole of this 1 month or so, that's the language they will be hearing. And for a lot of them, they want to go home, even asking uncles and aunties there, interpret this song for me. I liked the way this song was sung. So that is one positive aspect to it.
I see. Because you cannot use any other language.
Exactly.
In this one, you must use the Mali language. Because that is native. Whether you understand it or not, you will not hear any other language.
So
children will ask,
yeah,
when you sing, they'll ask you to interpret.
exactly. So while we talk about the children, the adults now, like we have this 34
Chieftaincy house.
years. So the adults themselves, for example, when the chiefs gather, do they still transact the business of tradition in the language of tradition, which is the Ibani language?
The answer is no. Reason being, because that's why I touched about civilization, Christianity,
Yes.
and education.
Yes.
A Nigerian top level government person,
Yes.
Adonai Monsai General Yakubu Gowon, in a visit to Bonny in 1972,
Yes.
interacted with the king and the chief. And he said, as far back as then, that he found out that the Bonny Chiefs Council seemed to him, the most sophisticated, educated form of people.
Okay.
The level of English, the quality of English, the caliber of persons who have turned out to be chiefs, then reserved for people who have excelled and have retired.
Yeah.
Because the norm outside during the palm oil trade and the slave trade and all that, from then on, chieftaincy had been a man who is equipped to look after people.
Yes.
Equipped to look after people. The chief and head of a house in Bonny is not a pauper and should not be a pauper. You have excelled, may not necessarily be in money, but you have excelled. So when they call your name, you know they call the man's name.
Yes.
So if someone is coming to brandish 50 kobo, the 50 kobo is of no substance to him, means nothing to him. So to answer that question, in council, it's strictly English. Okay. In council. But again, traditional rites are done, and they are done in the native language.
Okay.
But for deliberative purpose,
Yes.
is English language.
Okay.
Not just English language. Queen's English.
Okay.
Not broken.
Interesting. So just 1 minute. So, in preserving the Ibani language and cultures and traditions, the attempt being made on radio, what, having seen the role it's playing currently, are there other roles you think, or are there other ways you think that it can be strengthened, enhanced, and fortified to be able to probably play that role? Or are there other wider roles you think?
Now, in emerging society, let me just do it. Before now,
Yes.
TV segments to Nigerians were limited time.
Yes.
70s and 80s.
Yes.
Limited time for TV. Limited time too for radio. Even though radio on in the morning. Radio was not 24 hours.
Yes.
Okay? I tried to cut everything to add. Now, this is an indigenous radio station.
Yes.
The main market value for this radio station is to sell our norms, culture, tradition, and language. 4. Norms,
Yes.
culture,
Yes.
tradition, and language. And if you follow the Bonny FM, 90.9,
Yes.
if you follow it, almost after every hour, something in Mali crops up.
Okay.
After every hour, something in Mali crops up.
Yes.
That is an encouragement to start with.
Okay.
You must get the buy-in of your children who are enthusiastic of following.
Yes.
What is happening now is experimental,
Okay.
using professionals. The child who went to school to do mass comm did not go to do mass comm in a particular setting. You must understand that. The child went to do mass comm as broad as it is.
Yes.
Now, on-the-job training, which is what is available to everybody working in a workspace that is of an organization. If you belong to an organization in that workspace, on-the-job work training is different from what the academic paper has given to you.
Exactly.
So if you go and you say you study admin, you come back, they call you admin officer. Or you come back and they call you, yeah, most times it's admin officer, you grow to the rank in the civil service. What you learn there, you cannot buy. So the man who started as AO, admin officer, and the man who started as field engineer in the civil service gets to level 16. And at that point, they are available for consolidated PAMSEC 17.
Yes.
The man who started as AO has all the wealth of knowledge to be a better permanent secretary than the field engineer who also got to that 16. But the field engineer was not exposed to the rudiments of civil service. So the Ibani Bonny radio is designed right now to bring in, on a gradual purpose, children who have the enthusiasm, the willingness, and the interest to carry the Ibani story. Language is not about speaking.
Yes.
Language is about the ways and norms of the people.
Yes.
I may not speak the language. But at the same time, I can tell you that my dressing, sorry,